Digital Marketing Radio, episode 234. What is FOMO marketing and why should you care?
Digital Marketing Radio with David Bain.
Hi, I'm David Bain and this is Digital Marketing Radio, the show for in-house agency and entrepreneurial marketers who want to stay on top of the latest tools, tactics and trends shared on this very show by today's modern marketing masters. Consumers get exposed to an enormous volume of content each and every day, but how do you cut through the noise and capture your target consumer's attention and persuade them to act before the opportunity passes them by? My guest today specializes in creating FOMO campaigns for her clients by helping to get hashtags to trend through her Facebook Live interviews, live tweets, and countless other live content publishing strategies. She's a digital trainer, a live social media reporter, and a FOMO creator. Welcome to DMR, MayKing Tsang.
Woo! Hello! Hi everybody, how are we?
I don't think I've ever had a woo before, so there we go. It reminds me of listening to John Lee Dumas interviews. I think he asked his guest the first question, "Are you fired up?" Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's too Americans, too British, and we've got to be British about it, don't we? I would love to be woo.
Yes, you're being too American. Yes. Well, you can. We'll include a link to where you can find MayKing in the show notes at digitalmarketingradio.com. So, MayKing, what is a FOMO creator?
Well, I guess we should tell the world what FOMO means, which is the fear of missing out. And I've had people say to me before, MayKing, FOMO? I don't want FOMO. I want JOMO, the joy of missing out. But do you, in a business sense, do you want clients missing out on your business? No, you don't. You want to generate that buzz and excitement and create content for your community, create content for the lurkers so that when they are ready to buy, there'll be that one Instagram post or that LinkedIn story or that tweet that will think, okay, I need to buy from that particular person. So creating FOMO is really about creating real, raw, right now, live content for a book launch, a product launch, a service launch, a digital challenge, a conference. If you tick any of those boxes, then that's what a FOMO creator can do for you.
Create content for the lurkers. I love lurkers. Maybe not as much as buyers, but so who needs a FOMO creator then?
We all do. It doesn't matter whether you are a charity, an organization, a business, a sole trader, a limited company. We all do. We all need a FOMO creator. And FOMO is really about bridging the gap between social media and PR. So if you've got someone to do your social media for you or you're creating your own social media, brilliant, keep doing that. But FOMO is really the next step up, the next level up, which is creating that buzz and excitement.
So does FOMO then just work for a one-off campaign, or is this something that can raise the levels of enthusiasm for the long term?
Yeah, if you've got, seasons, then you can definitely create varying levels of FOMO. And so, it doesn't matter whether you've got a membership or a group coaching or, you're about to launch a book or about to launch a new service or new product. It tends to be creating FOMO for a particular thing. But with some of my clients, for example, they've been lurking on my stuff. Sometimes it just takes them a day to see my stuff and then they want to hire me. And then other times they haven't been ready to buy and they've been lurking on my stuff for 18 months. So as long as you can create that FOMO in waves for products or services that you do, that's absolutely possible.
And does it work for any type of business? Are you talking about B2C, B2B, personal brand type businesses, any business? Or are there only certain types of business that it's really right for?
You can create FOMO for any type of business depending on the different platforms. So, I've created FOMO on Twitter for conferences, but I've also created Twitter purely for webinars on LinkedIn. I've created FOMO for Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and Twitter. And I've also created FOMO for just Instagram. So it doesn't matter which platform you're on. It doesn't matter which industry you are in. There is a possibility for you to create FOMO for yourself or to hire someone to do that for you.
I'm sure that you've seen plenty of brands attempt FOMO and not achieve FOMO. So maybe what are some of the things that brands do at the moment, but they don't do well enough or they do badly and they need to improve?
That's a great question. Oh my God, I love that, David. Thanks for asking that question. So we've all got the attention span of a gnat, haven't we? And we just want to sell, don't we? We just want to get to the dollars and cents and pounds. And we just want to go and say, buy my stuff. So people who are not playing the game and going straight for the sale are doing it badly. So, no one will have followed us on our business journey from the day that we started our business. Some people may not have seen you until today or yesterday. So you still need to go through that 5-step plan to get people to create, to eventually know, like, and trust you. And then you create FOMO for them. So branding, building relationships, showcasing that you are an authority in what you do. You need to do all those bits before you get to creating FOMO. So a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, there was an incredible hashtag campaign that was going on by, I think it was Weetabix, who was suggesting a new breakfast idea of baked beans on Weetabix. So
I think I saw that.
Did you see that?
I did saw last week was by Burger King. I'm not sure if you saw that one.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay, well, you didn't want to see that one, but that's not.
All right, okay. so the big brands jumped on board and absolutely loved it. It was hilarious. So Tinder, for example, said we'd probably swipe left on that one, which is getting caught up in the game. But then there were other brands who were trying to sell their business with the hashtag, and that's not cool. You just get with the game, you just play with the British humor, and people will see your tweet, and if they enjoy it, then they may be inquisitive enough to find out who you are, look at your other tweets, and then follow you. So that's how you play the game. So too many people are trying to sell too quickly, and if people don't know who you are, then they don't know as a brand. They don't know if they like you. They don't know if they trust you. And you've got to do all those bits. But it's absolutely possible to do all those bits within the space of a tweet or a LinkedIn post or an Instagram post or a story.
I love it when other brands get involved with different brands' social media posts. I think then you've actually said something great or really enticing and worth a conversation.
Absolutely.
You mentioned there 5 steps to get going. Actually, you talked about branding, building relationships, building authority there as well. What are the other 2 steps? And do you want to maybe go into a little bit more depth about those steps, because that sounds key?
Yeah. So I mean, absolutely everything starts with your brand. So my 5-step plan to FOMO actually is with those letters. So B for branding, R is for relationship building. So even commenting on other people's posts, that's the start of creating relationships with people. I think a lot of businesses, they're too focused on pushing out their agenda without actually trying to comment on other people's posts and start building relationships with people. A is for authority, so showcasing that you know what you're talking about, sharing those blogs, being as helpful as possible, getting involved in Twitter chats or Facebook groups, and being relentlessly helpful, as my friend John Asperian would say. And then N is for notoriety. So basically, get famous. And how do you get famous? Well, you become your own PR agency. So getting your own PR is not just about being on TV, radio, national magazines, local radio stations. You can definitely do all of that, and I've done all of that. But in addition to that, you can create your own PR, and that is by shouting with the world, to the world, about what you've done, how you've made an impact with your clients, showcasing those testimonials. We've just got to not be British about it and just shout from the rooftops about who we are. So one of my favorite phrases is, it isn't bragging if you can back it up. So I can tell people that I run, that for my clients, I listen to their monthly webinars, I generate 50 tweets, and I convert that into a LinkedIn post, which I send to my clients. I can also say that at in-person conferences, I tweet. My personal best is 1,376 tweets, but I tweet on average 1,200 tweets for a conference, and in person on average 548. And I can say that because I've got the stats to prove it. So be your own PR agency, notoriety. And the last thing is direct communication. So when the timing is right, when it is ready for you to, then you can go to the DMs and start prospecting and build. And if you've built relationships with people, then you can say, shall we go into the DMs? Shall we arrange a StreamYard chat? Shall we arrange a Zoom chat or whatever? But timing is absolutely key. So BRAND. That's all you need for your 5 steps to FOMO.
Absolutely superb stuff. That's gold. I'm sure people will go back and listen to that section there. And so it sounds like a lot of work. How long do you have to prepare beforehand actually to create a really great FOMO campaign?
Do you know, that's such a good question. It depends how much effort you want to put in. It depends what you're trying to sell. It depends on your budget. So there have been campaigns that have been done for my clients where I've created FOMO for my clients in conjunction with a solid marketing campaign with Facebook ads on top of that. I've also done some campaigns where it's a lot of pre-FOMO in the lead up to an event, but no Facebook ads at all, no advertising. So it's just all organic. So I think the biggest thing one needs to look at is the time and the effort that you want to put in, as well as your budget as well. So if you can't afford a FOMO creator like myself, that's okay. You can learn and you can just talk about what people are going to expect from your book or your up and coming podcast or your up and coming launch, your product or your service. And then, live FOMO, so that's pre-FOMO. Then live FOMO is actually showcasing what people are doing during your challenge or your product or your service, what they're going to receive, collection of testimonials from past clients, that kind of thing. And then you've got your post FOMO, which is, in case you missed it, this is what you missed out on.
Superb. Pre-FOMO, that sounds a bit rude. I'm not sure about that. But
where's your head at, David?
I don't know. Look, I know any marketer's could ask, or at least any marketer's bosses could ask, is how do you measure the success of this? Because if you have a great organic or social media type campaign, it can be very difficult to measure success, especially if you don't have a direct call to action. Where do you bring in the direct call to action, and what calls to actions works best? And how do you actually measure the success of all of this?
Yeah, another great question. It depends what your end goal is, of course. So one of my clients, they had a 5% conversion on a combined Facebook ads, FOMO campaign with emails and social media, and they managed to get 1,200 people into the LinkedIn challenge. And then it was a free 5-day challenge. And then on day 3, she opened her cart for her LinkedIn program. And from the 1,200, she had a 5% conversion. So it was about 65 people who bought the program. And that was as a result of the value she brought to the attendees who came to the challenge. The community building. So one of the other aspects of FOMO creating is my pom-pom waving. So I encourage the attendees and, I'm there to answer any questions as part of the challenge. So I embed myself as part of that. And if they feel that they've got a lot of value from the person who created the challenge, then hopefully they will then buy. So that's an immediate conversion, from getting people to the challenge and then buying. And then conferences, of course, is, the measure of success is how much people, how many tickets are sold to the next event. So, with my first client, we sold 425 tickets for a conference that was held the following year. Another client, we had 55% of the tickets sold within a week for an event that was happening in 4 months' time. And then we've got other clients who, who've got a marker on getting people to the challenge, so as a result of the FOMO that's been created and the social media posts and the ads, how many people are they getting onto the challenge? So you almost need to work backwards. What is your goal and how are you going to get there? Is it to increase your subscriber list? Maybe is it to get people to buy tickets? Is it people to buy your program? Is it to increase your subscribers on your YouTube channel? Work from that goal in mind and then sort of work backwards, and that's how you sort of create that FOMO strategy.
Brilliant. Okay. And one other thought, obviously so much incredible content is created as part of this process. Is it possible then for brands to take this content and use it for the long term and republish in other places? Or is the content really ideally just suitable for live and for the launch of a particular brand or service?
No, it's absolutely, it's absolutely perfect for repurposing. So that's a marketing term. I just call it copy and paste, really, to be honest with you. So, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago in marketing, we were expected to do different content from Twitter to LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook. And now it's absolutely permissible to have that one piece of content and share it across different platforms, but in different ways. So, so if you have had an event that you've just created FOMO for, it is absolutely permissible for you to share that and reuse that content. At the moment, there's a lot of anniversaries that are happening. Oh, this time last year when we were allowed to go out and play,
over a year ago now.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, over a year ago. But people are using the content that they had from a year ago. So I was in San Diego at Social Media Marketing World, and I've seen a lot of people who have been sharing that content. Oh, this time last year, we were allowed to hang out with each other, no masks and all the rest of it. Can't wait to do that again. So yeah, you can definitely, share those memories. I mean, Facebook's awesome for that, isn't it? It shares, what's happened. If you shared a lot of stuff in your personal timeline, it will show up what you've done. And so
it keeps you addicted. Yes.
So, you can share that and share those wonderful memories and with your colleagues and so on. I mean, time flies so quickly and at the same time it stands still, but it's a great way for you to reconnect with people that that you've built relationships with that you may not have spoken to in a while, so those anniversaries and milestones are a perfect way of, repurposing that content again.
Well, let's segue to part 2 of our discussion. So it's now time to have a listen to MayKing's thoughts on the state of digital marketing today. So starting off with
secret software.
So MayKing, share a lesser known MarTech tool that's bringing you a lot of value at the moment and why that tool is important to you.
Well, I feel extremely privileged that I've been selected to be one of the beta testers for Twitter Spaces.
Ooh, yeah, I'm jealous.
Have you got FOMO, David?
I've got FOMO. Yeah, I've got Clubhouse, but I haven't got FOMO. I've got FOMO.
So Twitter Spaces is basically like Clubhouse, but way better. It's got a lot more functionality. And also, you're not competing with the willy wavers or the peacockers in Clubhouse.
You love those terms, don't you?
I do. I think with Clubhouse, I mean, I do have a room every Friday at 11, bit of a plug there. But in addition to that, I think in Clubhouse, you have to prove yourself. You're almost building your community again. And, you have to go into a lot of rooms and engage with people in order for people to get to know who you are. Now, if you've built your brand loud and proud enough already on the socials, people will already be talking about you in Clubhouse, which is great. On Twitter Spaces, you've already got a community. So people already know who you are. And even if you haven't used Twitter for a while, it's very easy for you to get back in and reconnect with your community again. So you don't need to prove yourself because people already know who you are. People are already engaged with you. And so at the moment with Twitter Spaces, you can go into people's Twitter Spaces and listen and be brought up as a speaker, but very quickly you'll get immediate followings and so on. So I think that Twitter Spaces, it's been getting very glitchy at the moment because people are clamoring onto it and they're getting FOMO as they're rolling it out to more and more people to run their own spaces. But that's definitely one thing to watch out for. There's a lot of things in the pipeline. And in a very short space of time, they've made it available to Android users, which is fantastic. And Clubhouse, as far as I know, at the time of recording, still not quite available for Android users yet.
No, it's still available on iPhone, just available on iPhone, and you can load it on iPad as well. But you actually need a telephone number associated with that. A little bit more complicated to get it on there. But long story short, is not available on Android yet. I'm really looking forward to getting into Twitter Spaces. You are certainly selling it to me as well. The reason why I particularly want to get into that, obviously I've got a bit more of an existing community on Twitter, so that's appealing as well. But also I like the idea of bringing people into the conversation, and I love live streaming, I love producing podcasts as well, and that's what I can do at the same time. But I think it adds value to also bring people into the conversation. So my intention is, as part of this show, once we've perhaps had the first section zeroed in on one specific digital marketing tactic, is to bring one or two people in from the audience, ask their opinion as well, and then move on as well. And I think Twitter Spaces might be a nice way to do that, but we'll see.
Absolutely. I think one, I can't remember the person who came up with the term, but they said that Twitter Spaces is actually more like a round table as opposed to Clubhouse, where there is a definitive stage where you bring people up to the stage. Whereas in Twitter Spaces, you know, we're all having a conversation and it's in a safe space, and you know, as I say, no willy waggling or peacocking. So so there's absolutely there's absolutely when you get your Twitter Space, David, you know, you'll be able to bring people up on a panel and it'll be great. Transcripts are available in a Twitter Space, which is fantastic. So you've got the opportunity to then repurpose your content into a blog post if you wanted to.
Yeah, so many exciting things. And talk about engaging with your audience. I see that Pero Zelezny's liked the live stream on Facebook. Pero, thank you very much. Hope you're doing well there. But let's move on from something that MayKing currently uses to something, as in Twitter Spaces, to something that you're going to use. So that is...
next on the list.
What's one marketing activity or tool that you haven't tried yet, but you want to test soon?
Do you know, I love Twitter, I love LinkedIn, and Instagram is my third favorite platform. I haven't done a reel yet, an Instagram Reels. I see a lot of people doing the sort of TikTok dance and the pointing, this, that, and the other, and I'm just trying to figure out a way of doing it slightly differently, but I'm enjoying everyone else using the reels, and so I've just got to figure it out. I've just got to figure out how to do it and how I'm going to do it differently. But I love everyone else's creative ways of using it.
Yeah, you have to be careful, don't you, with social media? I mean, it's important to embrace it and experiment with it, but do things that are right for your target market and can potentially fit into your existing content marketing mix as well. Because if you just play with it just for the fun of it and it's not any real use over the long term financially to you, then there's probably no point in doing it. I'll ask you in a minute about TikTok as well, because that's a question that I actually begin the next section with. But with regards to Instagram, you mentioned there as well, I've never really truly embraced Instagram. Do you think that's a mistake?
Yes. You're a marketer, David.
Okay, moving on to... listen, you can't do everything. I mean, I've been using Clubhouse a little bit, and Clubhouse integrates very nicely with Instagram direct messages. And when I did Clubhouses, I got a few direct messages from Instagram, and that seemed quite interesting.
Yeah, so it's funny, when I went, a chap that I've admired for years, Neil Schaefer, he is the author of The Age of Influence.
Neil,
amazing guy. And I actually hung out with him at the Royal Albert Hall. We went to a gig together, and he said, you're doing some incredible stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn. Just do Instagram. It's not going to go away. So out of respect for him, I decided to give Instagram a go. And I love Instagram stories. And I wish Twitter Fleets was not as glitchy for me as Instagram stories. So I do love Instagram.
Oh, let's move on to
the this or that round.
So this is the quick response round, 10 quick questions, just 2 rules here. Try not to think about the answer too much, and you're only allowed to say the word both on one occasion, so use it wisely. Are you ready?
Okay.
TikTok or Twitter?
Twitter.
Facebook or LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
YouTube or podcast?
YouTube.
Traffic or leads?
Oh gosh. Leads. Both.
Paid search or SEO?
SEO.
Ads or influencers?
Influencers.
Google ads or Facebook ads?
Google ads.
Email or chat?
Chat.
Martech stack or all-in-one platform?
I don't know what that means.
Okay, do you want lots of different marketing technologies doing all little different specialist activities, or just one piece of software that does everything?
No, the former.
Okay, lots of different
Yes.
things. Okay, and one-to-one or scale?
Scale.
We got there. We got a few more giggles than there, but we got there, yes.
I love that game.
There were many answers that proved to be challenging. I think the initial one was YouTube or podcast. Was that a bit of a tough one?
That was, in fact, it's funny because last year I got imposter syndrome and I was encouraged to do a podcast and I just thought I haven't got anything to offer. And then I think I realized that the reason why I had imposter syndrome was because I thought, I'm sure that I'd be able to incorporate video into audio as well, but I just couldn't figure out how. And then, of course, someone said, well, YouTube and strip out the audio, but I'm not very technical. So
How do you spell obs?
So that's why I paused there. So YouTube, strip out the audio, but hire someone to do that for me. There you go.
I don't love the phrase. I'm an audio dude, so I don't love stripping out the audio from YouTube simply because it's not the optimum quality audio. It's taken from an MP4. It's degraded a little bit, and
right.
It's probably not edited completely for a podcast. But that's just probably me being annoying. I don't know.
No, you just know your stuff, and it's okay to be techie geeky and be proud of what we all want to do the best that we can with the tools that we have at the time, don't we? And we're always looking to improve. But once you've improved, you don't really want to go back. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
I'm sometimes good at pretending that I know my stuff, but we all have to be at times.
Yeah.
Let's get on to
the $10,000 question.
If I was to give you $10,000 and you had to spend it over the next few days on a single thing to grow your business, what would you spend it on, and how would you measure success?
Oh my. Well, we talked about one-to-one scale, and I'm starting to outsource a bit more, so I'll probably outsource even more. So can I split it into two?
You can split it into two, but I'm going to ask you which one's more important. So kind of yes and kind of no.
Right. Okay. So if I was allowed to split it, then I would split so that some of it would be to outsource some of the stuff that I really need to get done, because FOMO is not going anywhere, and the other half would be to get the FOMO Creator Academy done. But if I was to choose one, oh golly. Outsource, I think, so that will free up the time for me to be able to create the FOMO Creator Academy. There, that answers your question, right?
It did. Well done. I've got nothing more to say. No, actually, that's not quite true. But FOMO Creator Academy sounds interesting. So you're trying to train in people within organizations and agencies to become FOMO creators themselves?
Absolutely. So I think that there is definitely a need and a calling for FOMO creators. And I've actually been encouraged to create the FOMO Creator Academy because they want to be taught how to create FOMO. And so, for those organizations who don't have the budget to hire myself, then they can at very least hire someone who's gone through my FOMO Creator Academy, who I approve, who've done some tests and they've done all the education and all the rest of it. And they'll be able to do just as good a job as I will, just not as many tweets or as many LinkedIn posts, but will still create an incredible amount of FOMO because they've gone through that program. I think there's definitely a calling for it.
Do you know, I was doing obviously some research on you earlier on. We've met before, we've talked before, but it's good to research people as well. And I was looking up your various social profiles, and it was hard to find a definitive domain name, a website to actually associate with you. But as you were talking about FOMO Creator Academy there, I just actually typed in the URL, the domain name FOMOcreator.com, and I'm pleased to see you own it. You've registered it. So that's wonderful. Well done. That's good.
Thank you. It's funny because I always like to do something a little bit different, and I rebelled. I decided I'm not going to have a website, even though people say no, you should have a website. I thought no, because everything that I do is on the socials. It's all there, and so I thought I would not have a website. But I think I found out on the grapevine that I lost a couple of clients because I don't have a website. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I thought, oh, well, I better toe the line. And so that's why I've registered the domain. And but I haven't really openly come out with it because I don't want to collect email addresses because I don't know what to do with them.
Sorry for sharing it with the world.
That's absolutely fine. No, but I do have someone who's actually helping me to get it branded and get some content on there so that I can do a big ta-da, here it is.
Okay, well, hopefully I haven't stopped you doing that. I'm sure I haven't stopped you doing that. But
no, not at all.
I'm really pleased that you've done that. I think it's good, even if you don't actually actively use the website, to have the domain, to have that brand presence reserved so you can use it in the future as well, and you've done that. So that's great. And that'll take us up to
Magical Marketer.
Who's an up-and-coming marketer that you'd like to give a shout out to? What can we learn from them, and where can we find them?
So she's been doing some incredible stuff for her community, and she's staying in her own lane, which I really admire, because it's easy to get caught up with people who are doing some incredible stuff, but then you feel, oh no, comparisonitis, I'm not doing as much as this, that, and the other. So I want to give a big shout out to Nikki Hutchison, and she has group coaching programs. So she's actually got a digital challenge that's coming up. But unlike some digital challenges where they want to give so much value, you go into a place of overwhelm, she's helping you with one thing for every day of her challenge, which I think is amazing. So, we're all got, a lot of things going on at the moment. Some of us are homeschooling, some of us are pet parenting, as well as running our business. But if you can do that one thing to improve your marketing, then you need to follow Nikki Hutchison.
Wonderful recommendation. You have been listening to MayKing, the FOMO Creator, who in today's episode of Digital Marketing Radio shared some incredible tips. She shared her 5 steps to building FOMO: branding, building relationships, building authority, notoriety, direct communication, your secret software, Twitter Spaces next on the list, Instagram Reels, your magical marketer, Nikki Hutchison there. All those links, all those resources will, of course, be in the show notes at digitalmarketingradio.com when the website is actually finished, which will be very soon, or it'll definitely be on the YouTube show notes. So check out the YouTube channel, of course. Just search for Digital Marketing Radio on YouTube if you're not following us when we go live. It's fun to have people watching us live as well. MayKing, what's the best social platform for someone to follow you and say hi?
LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of those.
No, but that's not a single answer, but I'll let you away with that. Just it's a struggle to answer the question, but no.
Just a little bit cheeky, that's all.
No. You're a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on. I have been your host, David Bain. You can also find me producing podcasts for B2B brands over at castingcred.com. If you want to watch the next episode live, please subscribe to Digital Marketing Radio on YouTube. I mentioned it already. And of course, you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, all those good places. Tell a friend if you haven't done so already as well. It's good to share. Until we meet again, stay hungry, stay foolish, and stay subscribed. Aloha.
DigitalMarketingRadio.com. DigitalMarketingRadio.com. Digital Marketing Radio. Digital Marketing Radio. DigitalMarketingRadio.com.